There's been a major shakeup of U.S. immigration and customs enforcement as frustration grows inside the Trump administration that arrests and deportations are not happening fast enough. Well, two sources now tell CBS News late last evening, two top officials who previously had led ICE's deportation branch were reassigned. The news came on the very same day that President Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, told reporters he was personally not satisfied with the number of arrests so far. Here's what he said.
The arrests in the interior enforcement is about 3 times higher than it was a year ago today. 3 times higher is good, but I'm not satisfied. There's more criminal aliens that need to be arrested, hundreds of thousands. Sanctuary cities are putting roadblocks up. We got leaks. So we need to increase the arrests of illegal aliens, especially those with criminal convictions.
By the way, during his inauguration, Trump promised to deport millions and millions of people, and ICE has been out there conducting raids all over the country. They've been promoting their campaign on television, on social media as well. But the White House at this point says that ICE has only made about 11,000 arrests in 18 days. That's not the pace they need to meet their goals. And over the last week, the agency has stopped issuing those daily arrest figures. So it raises the question, is executing these raids and meeting the goals harder than they expected? And also, what might they have to change to get to where they want to be? For more on this and how it's all working, we are joined by someone very special, PJ Lechleitner, who served as acting director of ICE under former President Joe Biden. PJ, thank you very much for joining us. To make this real simple for people,
yeah, good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Is this sort of like the team wasn't meeting the goals that the owners wanted, and so they fired the coach and they're going to bring in some new people? Help us understand the firings in the deportation branch. Or reassignments,
Okay, so
say.
All I know is what I've heard as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reassignments, because all I know is what I've heard. They're career people. They haven't been fired, but they have been reassigned from what I understand. And I'm not going to second guess the decisions that are made by the administration, either the border czar or the director of ICE, and what they need for their team. I know from hearing there's some frustrations in getting the enforcement actions done, but it's a Herculean task, Tony. Like, ICE has been chronically underfunded for decades, and to get the work done that they need help from Congress to get more resources and personnel. You see a lot of great success so far with the interagency, getting DOD on board to help, getting the agencies from DOJ, even now IRS and Treasury. But they've been chronically underfunded. They don't have the money to be continuing this, and they're going to have to get help from Congress in the form of appropriations to continue this massive undertaking.
What are the resources you think are needed, and what are the limitations? Because at the rate that they're going at now, they have about 787 arrests per day. If you multiply that by 365, they're on track to maybe have about 300,000 or more arrests per year. They want to, of course, increase that. But what's needed? What are the physical limitations? Deportation beds, personnel?
Yeah, they need more deportation beds. Right now, they're only funded for 41,005. And they need vastly more of those beds. The DOD can help, obviously, with different centers and where we could put these individuals, and that's been done previously. But that's not going to be enough. We need additional money to get out there and get contract beds to do that. They're going to need that. And that's all bed money. Now they're going to need money for transportation. Again, DOD's helping with the transports, but that's not all free. There's an opportunity cost for DOD doing that as well. So they need more money for the deportation beds and for the transportation, and continuing help from the different agencies to help on these enforcement operations.
PJ, you had this senior acting role as head of ICE under the Biden administration. You've also been with the Department of Homeland Security for 2 decades, give or take. Watching what's happening unfold now, I'm curious what you think is different, if anything, from what you've experienced in the Biden administration and even further back.
Yeah, definitely. It's a much more enforcement-minded, forceful, and muscular in civil immigration posture. That's for sure. They definitely pivoted based off of the election and what the priorities for this administration are, and that's the priorities that the administration wants to follow. And the career men and women of ICE and the other parts of the federal law enforcement spectrum are going to do everything they can to make this work. So really, it's that increased muscular posture as it relates to civil immigration to get these folks, and there's more than 8 million that we know of that are on the non-detained docket, to round these folks up, to get them in detention and to get them through the immigration proceedings and either get removed or get relief. And that's going to be a big undertaking, require a lot of money and resources, like I said.
And how would you compare this enforcement right now under Trump's second term to his first term?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities, but just an increase. They've opened the aperture as it relates to the civil immigration. Still, the national security and the public safety focus is still there, and you heard that the borders are saying that. They're going to go after those public safety, national security threats first, those criminal aliens and people convicted of serious crimes, and they're going to prioritize that, and they're going to work down that list. And that's the way you do that in law enforcement. You're going to push that. So that's remained consistent, but what you see now is a real increase in what they call collateral arrests, just the other at-large individuals they run across. From what I understand, if they run across someone who's out of status here without, here illegally without status, in improperly either visa overstay or they crossed illegally, then they're gonna grab them as well, regardless.
Hey, PJ, I'm curious why you think there's this big difference in what the Trump administration is doing versus the Biden administration. You said more forceful, more muscular. Why wasn't the Biden administration pursuing this docket of 8 million people that you mentioned?
Well, we were pursuing them, but we had prosecutorial, discretion and guidelines put in by the previous administration where they really wanted to focus on the most recent border entrants and those national security, public safety threats, and really take a mitigating and aggravating look at all the other individuals who in the population and let that proceed through non-detained docket through the immigration proceedings. And we didn't have the money. We tried to get some more money at the time to increase our detention and to get some more detention space, which would have led to even more removals, but we didn't have that during the past administration, although we did try to get that. But the biggest difference was really didn't have to focus as much on the non-national security public safety threats.
And
go ahead.
PJ, President Trump has also expanded expedited removal authority, meaning that people can be deported without seeing a judge, without having proper representation. What do you think about that loss of due process?
Well, all of this is consistent in the INA. Nothing's inconsistent. So I like to say all the work that's going on with this new administration is consistent with the INA. And the INA has been in place for more than 2 decades. It's just a more forceful approach to this. So this administration ran on that, and they're gonna carry it out to the best of their ability. The new administration has a much more different approach than the previous Biden administration, for sure.
Yeah, it sure does. PJ Lechleitner, appreciate your time, sir.
Thank you, Tony, and you got it right.